Support for the FM show is brought to you by Manscaped, the best in men's below the waist grooming. Their products are precision engineered tools for your family jewels, and Manscaped's performance package is the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. Join over 8 million men worldwide, including us three, who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you, our loyal listeners and viewers. If you use the code FM Show at manscaped.com, you will get 20% off and free worldwide shipping. We are so excited to have Manscaped on board as a sponsor. I've been using the products for ages. They've sent us the performance package, and it includes this, the Lawnmower 4.0. Now, I am a 43-year-old man. I manscape myself. I treat this a little bit like trying to do a football pitch. So I get stripes in there. I'm doing circles. I'm doing zigzags if I feel a bit exotic. The 4.0, the Lawnmower 4.0 features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. It's waterproof, which means no more mess on the bathroom floor, and also has a 4000K LED spotlight for a more precise shave.
Yes, they sent us the performance package. I've got the whole box, which includes the Lawnmower 4.0, but also the Weed Whacker, which cuts your hair and your nose hairs as well. So we've got that. Also, that came in the box. We've got the Crop Preserver, Ball Deodorant, and we've also got the Crop Reviver, your ball toner. Also lovely, a bit of a underrated thing that comes in this box as well. The boxers are absolutely comfortable, and you also get this nice, gorgeous travel bag with it.
That's exactly. It's a lovely, lovely looking, very classy looking travel bag there as well, isn't it? Now, I had never thought about you grooming my ear hair or nose hair, and I don't know if you have both been through this journey before. Obviously, as people can see and as viewers may know, viewers can see, as listeners may hear, I have a beard. Is basically what I'm trying to say here, and hair. Kind of nose hair kind of gets covered a bit, you know. You don't necessarily see, because of the hairs on your face, that there's nose hair growing as well. So that has.
I didn't know I had nose hair.
I'm a 43-year-old man. I know I've got nose hair. But not more.
This is it, and I have used it, and it's an interesting sensation the first time using it. A little bit ticklish, but I was surprised how sort of gentle it actually was, and does feel great now. I'm sort of doing that, and then it doesn't feel something straggling out. I can lift myself up to the sky with, sort of thing. And with the ear grooming too as well. Genuinely does feel like, oh yeah, it's nice. It's sort of nice and clean around there. I'm not noticing hairs longer than my arm coming out of my nose too. So I've been very
freshening yourself up,
from Manscaped.
Freshening yourself up, Steve. That's what it's all about. Make yourself fresh. For example, say you're sat, I don't know, playing FM for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours or whatever. You stand up. If you can smell yourself, that's not pleasant, is it? So I recommend a bit of that. Get the Crop Reviver on there, spray it in there, smell lovely. It's going to be beautiful. That's what you're going to be doing. So if you want to upgrade your grooming, go to manscaped.com and get 20% off and free shipping worldwide by using the code FM Show. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com by using the code FM Show. As always, use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. Back to the episode. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the FM show. I am, of course, your host, Tony Jameson. And as you can see, if you're on YouTube, that is, of course, if you are listening via the audio feed, set your faces to happy, because we are joined once again by RDF Tactics, Arron Falloon. He's returned to first team action. Arron,
thank you. Thank you. Back, first of all, the last couple of shows have been amazing. I have been listening and watching. I've been watching as well on the YouTube. But me and the missus did unfortunately go through a bad time. We did lose an unborn, which, it was difficult to go through at first. But I'm just happy to be back, in all honesty, trying to resume back to normality a little bit as well. Because, of course, sometimes just dwelling on it doesn't help. So getting back here, not that I'm distracting myself, because I have dealt with it as well. So it's just nice now to get back with you two and back to the Football Manager the FM show. Let's go.
No, like I say, man, it's a pleasure to have you back, and obviously love to all of you in the family, and we have of course been thinking about you, so it is great to have you back. Obviously we've kept the seat warm.
It feels warm.
You know, myself and producer Steve, we've been having chats, we've been finding out all about Steve. Believe it or not, he's still in Florence, Arron. He's still there. He's not done anything. He's just stuck with his guns. And
not much has changed. Not much has changed.
No, it's kind of become a sort of like Football Manager podcast, slam poetry podcast that did slightly, which unfortunately, would have been within your wheelhouse in terms of talents as well, Arron. So sorry, maybe you can contribute as well. Thank you. Welcome back.
But Steve, we will, just before we let Arron come back in, because I'm guessing Aaron's obviously had other things on his mind than FM. Like you, however, talking before we started recording. First of all, where are we in Fiorentina? Because I mean, let's face it, we know you're still in Fiorentina. Where are we?
So it's January 2031. So in the midst of the January transfer window. So it's that fun time where Champions League group stage is qualified. You leave that for a while. The Coppa Italia is quite fun in Italy too, because you start off in the last 16. So I've won one game in that. I'm already in the quarterfinals. It's like, oh great, a cup quarterfinal. That's quite exciting. And it charts it out before you, so you can see what your route to the final is as well. So it's kind of quite an easy cup competition to win, if I'm being completely honest. So that's fun. And last episode, I mentioned my data hub signing, Luca Di Giacomo. Well, he has got off the mark in a beautiful fashion in the Coppa Italia. A lovely near post finish in a game where XG was 0.84 or something, won 2-0. So clinical in terms of like getting that kind of guy in to score that sort of goal. And he's young, Italian as well. So idea being he'll only get better and better. Rotate the side too. So that's a positive. So again, guys, look at that data hub if you're uncertain about, if you feel like your scouting team aren't necessarily giving you what you might want from a signing. As I say, January, the transfer window is open. I was reminded by my personal assistant role person that I promised Dragowski, my big signing goalkeeper in the summer, that I would strengthen the forward line. Now, I thought I'd done that by signing Di Giacomo, but apparently Dragowski doesn't care about data hub signings. But he still thinks I was like, well, I've signed an attacker. I've done that. But apparently not strong enough. So I'm like, okay, I clearly need to buy and actually your guys' thoughts on this would be interesting. I sort of clearly need to buy an experienced, notionally stronger attacker. So I've gone back to my short list, and and we are a bit short on the left hand side on that inside forward role too. So I'm trying to sign Rafael Leao, who's 31 at this point. Is at Chelsea, a squad player. Typical thing where I remember him being bought from Milan back in the day when early on in the save. I was like, great, one of my rivals been weakened, and he went to Bayern, I think, and then, as often happens on this game, players getting swept up in the sort of big clubs where they just disappear. So I'm thinking a 2-year contract, see what he can do, give him some games, and I will actually play him. Chelsea won't. Another player like that I've signed this window is Gavi. For Barcelona Academy product, Gavi was at Milan. I do raise Milan quite a lot in terms of they're the club that's on the way down. But we play a similar style, so I'm just picking them off like the vulture that I am. But he was at Barcelona, went to Bayern, then went to Milan, and just not played at Milan at all. And so I got him for 5 million.
How old is he?
So
I was gonna
26
I was
at this
gonna
point.
say that approaching his prime age.
This is it. So Bayern signed him for 28.5 million, and then Milan bought him from Bayern for 16.75, and I got him for 5.
And what's his wages?
Oh, that's a good point. What is Arsenal's wages? They're not as high as you think, actually.
£300 million a week.
That's an incredible deal. Yeah, that's an incredible deal.
That's a bargain. That's an absolute bargain.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
And also, overview-wise, you look at him, first touch 16, dribbling 15. This is all for the advanced playmaker on support. Passing 14, technique 15, composure 16, flair 18, decisions 14. agility 17, balance 16. Like it's. I'm sitting there. I don't understand.
I'm trying to figure it out as well.
I think the sporting director at Milan needs sacking for that transfer.
I'm guessing like the under the hood attributes as well. So like the attributes that make the player's personality. I'm guessing for Gavi as well, that is going to be very, very good. So not only have you got that, a player approaching his prime age, good reputation as well, possibly international. That is an insane deal. That's men's.
Yeah.
Steve,
Steve,
you've got to be happy with that.
Yes, it's been a good January window actually so far in that regard. And just little, that sort of point in the midway through the season, you kind of do top ups. I've sold a few fringe players as well on lower wages, that sort of stuff. Third at the moment, I did have a run of beating Inter in the league. So Inter and Juventus, my two I'm competing with. Be Inter in the league. Then I had to fly out to the Bird's Nest Stadium in China midweek for the Supercoppa, because that's the thing they do in Italy.
Yeah.
Which I don't really know if the game factors in the travel, but that's a lot of travel, right? But beat Juventus in the Supercoppa. So beat my two rivals in consecutive games. Then drew with Torino in the league, and so basically squandered that victory. So, was like I said to Tony a couple of episodes ago, it feels I'm loving it. I'm loving this season. We may not necessarily win the title, but it just feels like the rejuvenation is there. And, if it's not this year, we're coming. We're coming. So Florence is great. Florence is great.
The turning point of Fiorentina, and the point that you were making before about Dragowski wanting a specific signing. Like we've all sort of come across the parts of the game where you sort of have a player going, "Oh, you need to strengthen this area," and you're sort of looking, going, "You are that player. I have signed you to strengthen that area. You are the £100 million striker that we are using to strengthen the strikers. Who else?" That's
that sort of mistake, because sometimes, like me, I like to buy my replacement before I actually sell the player. So it's that sort of thing. Yeah, you bring in the replacement, and then you sell it, and then people are like, "You need to replace that guy now." Like, but I did before. I already have.
You want that? See that guy who turned up with all the awards. That's the lad. We're going to use him.
It's funny now, but at the time it can be a bit frustrating. It's like so like when I've been playing Football Manager over the last couple of days, it's like when I'm doing tactics as well, you're not really focusing in the game stuff. It's just like get to the next game because you're just focusing on tactic. But then people start complaining. Because me, it's like if I'm releasing a tactic, I have to win games. So it's always just play the best team. Rest in between the games, play the best team. But then obviously the bench players start moaning and this player starts moaning. And it's like, it gets to a point where it's like, this is just not tactical anymore. Because now I have to start doing things to keep the morale up so I can continue to win games as well. So that's the little fight that I have when creating tactics in Football Manager.
I mean, you mentioned there about winning games, Arron. I mean, that is still something that feels very, very alien to me.
To be fair, though, I am creating Jurgen Klopp tactics using Liverpool. So, to be fair, to be fair.
Right, okay. I am creating carnage in Northern Ireland is what I'm doing. I went back. So I remember, of course, we left Spurs, right? Okay, you may have seen we left Spurs with an FA Cup in our hand and 2 European trophies, right? And I thought, I'm going to go back to Banbridge and I'm going to continue my story arc on my save, right? I'm going to go back and try and win the Northern Irish Championship. And people say never go back. And I say those people are probably right, really, if you think about it. Because it was a bit of a grind. The first season was just stay in the division. That was fine. And the second season, it just felt like we were just not getting anywhere. We went like 13 games without a win. And then we won 7 games on the bounce. It was like, hey, we're back. And then the game went, you turned your computer off, didn't you? And I was like, I did, yeah. And they went, yeah, you're going to lose again. So we lost loads of games again. And it's like season 24 of my challenge. And obviously we're coming towards the end of FM23 cycle. So I'm like, right, we're not going to win another trophy in Northern Ireland. So we're going to move, right? We'll finish like one more season. We'll go somewhere else. And the Berwick Rangers job came up. So I figured season 25, we're going to go to the Borders, leave Banbridge. We stayed up because we had 4 games left of the season at Berwick in the Scottish Championship. Now they were 3 points clear of the relegation playoff with Dunfermline. So we had to play first, second, fourth, and bottom in our last. in our last 4 games. Unsurprisingly, we lost our first game. We lost our second game, both by 1 goal, though. So we looked like we were doing okay. Second last game. Penultimate game of the season. We drew 1-1. And I was like, ooh, that's a huge point in this battle. Which meant that on the final game of the season, Dunfermline, who were 9th, played Motherwell, who were top, and we played Greenock Morton away from home. Greenock Morton bottom, and they were relegated essentially. So we were playing out this draw. All we had to do was get a point because our goal difference was far superior. Even if Dunfermline won, we would stay up if we had 1 point. And about an hour's gone past. We're 0-0. Dunfermline are 3-0 down against Motherwell. We're going, we've done this, right? And then Dunfermline pull a goal back. And then a second. And somehow they pull it back to 3-3. And I'm like, no, not this way. Not this way, Football Manager.
That is no way.
Yeah. And I'm going, what am I supposed to do? Like, just ride it out. A point is enough. A point is enough. Even if they win, a point is enough. And our clock keeps ticking down, ticking down, ticking down. No more goals at Dunfermline, but a penalty at Greenock Morton for Berwick Rangers in the 92nd minute. Smash it into the roof of the net. We stay up. Didn't even need the Dunfermline result. So we've done that. So into pre-season planning, season 25, the last dance. And you know what, Steve? I've taken a little bit of inspiration from yourself and brought in, get this, 2 Italian players. One from Roma and one from Juventus.
How have you managed that?
Free transfers, they've been released. These guys are incredible for the league we've got. There's no way they should be playing for us.
Yeah, I was going to say, maybe it's because of you. I was going to say, maybe because it's you, yeah.
Possibly. These... Like, put it this way, we're in the championship in Scotland. These players have minimum fee release clause of 700 grand. There's no way they should be in this division.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I'm very much looking forward to disappointing everyone in Berwick with Italians as we go forward.
God, yeah. I suppose there'll be sort of. I suppose your man who's in Turin, not dissimilar the climate, northern Italy at certain times of the year to the Scottish borders. To Berwick's lovely though as a town. You go through on the train, don't you? And it's
beautiful. It's beautiful, and I'm sure that these 2 players have left Rome and Turin and went. The train to Edinburgh's lovely. I got them in by taking them around Edinburgh Zoo, and hey, look at this. This is close by. And they went,
in August,
close, isn't it?
Yeah, in August you can't move for comedians.
Took the Fringe Festival. They had a lovely time, and then went, actually, you're going to live in Berwick. Is that right? So yeah, 1 more season with that, and then FM24 is out. Yes. And Arron, the announcements have been coming. Now, I know you've been sat there making loads of notes, getting yourself all excited. Talk to us about what has been getting that appetite of yours.
I mean, we've got to be talking about the game mode, surely, man. That the new universes, you know what? It's weird because when they first released that, I was like, I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to be using that because I'm just thinking as soon as Football Manager comes, I'm going to be using the updated database. I want to see how everything is and stuff like that. But then when I went on Twitter and I'm seeing everyone else's comments and I'm like, now this feature makes sense to me. And I think, especially for rebuilds as well, it's so like, I hate using Arsenal as an example, but it's the only example I can safely say. But a lot of Arsenal fans aren't overly pleased with Kai Havertz. And it's that sort of thing. Sometimes in transfer windows, we like to think we're managers, I will do this, I will do that. But now you can actually put yourself in a position where you can kind of rewrite history. Okay, this is what we could have done if we didn't sign Havertz, for an example, or this is what I would have done if I didn't sign Havertz. And football managers now have that opportunity.
So let's break it down then, okay, for everyone who's either not seen it and hasn't got a clue what on earth they're on about, or has seen it and doesn't get it, like myself. Hello, right? So the game. So when you start the game now, okay, first of all, you get asked, would you like to import your FM23 save? Steve, FM23 is a game that came out after you started.
No, 222. No. What?
Right. So this is no good for Steve. Steve can't put Fiorentina into this. Okay. But so you asked if you want to bring FM23 in. If you don't want to do that and you want to start a brand new save, you're given 3 options, I believe. Okay, you can start in a universe, which is the standard template of Football Manager, which is like June or back end of June, August. There's no transfers done, bar the data that's already in the game. Yeah, is that right? So it's like
so
squads
the
as they were before. Yeah, you've got that, and that's what we normally play with. And transfer budgets are adjusted accordingly. You've then got a way of looking at it where you can start on the game date with the transfers already plotted on the days they happen. So, for example, if a player signs on transfer deadline day, they won't be in the squad the second you start the game, but the transfer is arranged and your finances have been adjusted accordingly. So that happens like that. That's one way of doing it. And then there's the third way, which I understand, Arron, is that none of those transfers have happened.
Literally, none of those transfers have happened, and then you can kind of write your own history in the way that you would like to, which I think is a very, very good feature. It's probably something that I wouldn't have requested before, but it's one of those things that someone would have to give me the ideas and a few examples, then it will be like, oh, okay, yeah, that sounds very good to me. And now it's coming out again. I'm very excited for it.
So Marvel has got so much to answer for many reasons, but then like is FN24 going to open up and Doctor Strange is standing there with like various multiverses that you can go into? Is this kind of thing?
Literally it. So like, West Ham fans will be living in a world where Declan Rice,
they
can sell,
and they don't have to sell it to.
Like,
don't you dare! Don't you dare!
It's funny you say that, but it's one of those things. It might be that for someone, a West Ham fan. I mean, there was kind of this sort of social media rivalry between Arsenal fans, and now West Ham fans might. Okay, I'm kind of over that we have to sell Declan Rice, but now I don't want to sell it to Arsenal. I want to sell it to a different player, a different team, and now West Ham fans have that opportunity to do so.
And as you say, it puts you right slap in the middle of it to go, you're the manager. How would you spend the money? And Football Manager and Sports Interactive are very much promoting the narrative of you can rewrite history, which I think it's all about. Everyone can play the game however they want. And that is a very,
I was just about to say that. We always bang on about that. Play the game how you want it. And this just helps people in playing the game in just imaginative ways.
Yeah, because whenever I normally play it, I normally disable the first transfer window if I'm playing like a top league, because in my head I go, well, all those transfers already happened. Like, why would those teams strengthen those players again? Add more players in. But then, of course, when I'm in the lower leagues, it's like, really, man, I like let the top leagues do whatever they want to do. Like, I'm not fussed. It's a different universe for me. But you're right. It is a great way of doing that now. I love the idea of that real-time transfer. That for me feels quite good, because it does feel strange having those players already in at the start of the game and then the clubs can buy more players as well. I do like that idea of, well, you know what, that player rocked up on transfer deadline day, so that's when they're going to turn up in the game, and that's really smart. If they can do that as well with the January transfer window update as well,
it's just a different challenge as well, isn't it? It's really like how you're going to approach those few games as well before so you've got a player coming in on deadline day and maybe you've lost or you've already lost your first 2 games and stuff, so it might actually dictate the way you approach your season as well coming ahead. But isn't it? Like, coming in at different times rather than everyone's already there, and you can kind of do that thing on day one, right? Send everybody on their language courses and all of that all on the same day, so they're all learning the language at the same time, and it's easy. It's tactical familiarity, yes, that as well.
Arron.
Someone coming on deadline day after you've already done your whole pre-season with the squad that was there, and now you've got new players coming in at, awkward times for you. That can be awkward times for you. It's just a whole different challenge. But I do wonder if it opens up a whole nother world when it comes to real-life fixtures. I mean, I'm not sure how they will implement that, but let's say, Football Manager's coming out in November. Could you imagine that they had all the real-life games done up until the game releases? And then you can sort of obviously got that opportunity as well. You can either start from whatever day you want to start from, or start from when the game releases. So let's say Arsenal's already at second, and West Ham's at, wherever they are. I wonder if that can open up a whole different world. Because that's...
So it comes out on 6th of November, whatever the current Premier League is in terms of on the 6th of November.
And you start your save on the 6th.
At the moment, literally, when that release came out, that's the first thing that came in my head as well. Because that was almost the thing that people would like to have real life fixtures. I think there is a thing that you can download where people have real life fixtures. Yeah. So it is, again, a way that some people actually do like to play their game. And they want to be as real as possible.
Imagine that though, like you load your save up, and you're right, it is possible. And there are third-party add-ons, aren't there, that does this. But if you imagine you start the save with how the league is on the day you start, you can either be so happy or really sad.
Exactly, and it's also that challenge as well. You can imagine a team like Cheltenham Town. Yes, I got a different example. Cheltenham Town haven't scored. They didn't score a goal, but they did. They scored a goal against Derby, which kind of ruined it. But up 11 games in, they actually didn't score a goal in the league. They conceded 19, no goals scored, 1 point on the table. And then imagine you being the manager walking in, because they did sack the manager. Imagine you being the manager walking in that situation. That would just be, pretty intense in League One as well. It will be pretty intense because your morale is going to be low. Of course, you're not going to walk in and your morale's at normal. It's going to be down. People probably already complaining that they're not playing enough games and stuff like that as well. Maybe a player's playing out of position. It's just a different challenge in a different world and another way of how you can play Football Manager differently.
Okay, I'm all for that. That sounds good. They say, oh, well, what's that? This mode? Yes, please. I'll have that. Thank you very much. Bring that one in. That's good. Is there any way I can make this game harder for myself as well? Yeah, totally. Yeah. What we're going to do, we're not even going to tell you the fixtures. You've got to guess what the fixture is and then try and do a tactic accordingly. Does that work? Yeah, that's fine. I'll do that. That sounds really good. Other things, of course, that have popped up is to do with international management. Now, something that, I'll be honest, something I haven't done a lot of, and it does polarize people's opinions, international management, but it's not quite what people have been asking for because there's no international training. But there's a thing, Arron, called the refreshed national pool.
So now when you're on your national pool, when you're in Football Manager, in FM24, things are going to look slightly different. Now, it's going to look better, obviously. And now maybe we can grab a screenshot. So I'll send Tony some screenshots. So apologies for adding extra work. But I'll send you FM23 screenshots and then we can also compare it to the FM24 screenshots. Just so on YouTube especially, you can actually see what I'm talking about. So in a national pool, now the view is a little bit different and they have added ability column, potential column. You also have staff advice column as well, where now your staff can actually say this player should be dropped from the national squad or this player should be called up to the national squad. But you can also interact as well. So when you are calling up a player, you can interact with that player. And it's all done on this national pool screen, which is obviously easy. It's kind of less buttons. You don't have to go through X, Y, and Z just to interact with a player. And now everything's all on one screen for you.
That's pretty cool. And to be fair, that's a lot of what it is. Yes. Like these quality of life improvements in the game of getting less clicks to get the information that you need. And for me, now that I'm looking at a Build a Nation save going forward, that screen might become quite handy for me because at some point I might need to look at the national pool and work out how to do international management. But it's not the only area that's had a bit of a refresh. Steve, the squad planner has had a little bit of a spruce up because, I'm going to be honest, I love the idea of the squad planner, but I do still use pen and paper because I think it did need a little bit. The idea was great. The execution wasn't quite there, but I think they've taken that feedback on board and it does look like there's been some huge improvements on it.
Yeah. So, what do you think is going to make you, is it going to make you go away from pen and paper yet, Tony, or are you set in your way?
I don't know. For me in FM23, the squad planner very much felt like it's right here and now. But the idea of it was going, you've got this young player, what's his pathway? Like, how do you get him into the side? And it didn't quite seem as though that tallied up really with the intention. So for me, what I like to do, and it goes alongside some people who've been developing skins for the game have really lent into this a little bit. And things like squad depth screens have worked really nicely, where you can see all your goalkeepers at a glance, you can see all your left backs at a glance, all your centre backs at a glance. And I think that the squad planner, maybe that was the idea of it, but what the execution wasn't quite there, and it just chucked anybody in who could play in any of those positions. And it was then you can't, like, even like if you had your centre back at right side, your centre back left side, there was the same pool of players. And I just thought that when you wanted to bring your youth players in to be like, this is a great player, his pathway is, I want to be using him in 5 years' time. It was very much a case of, well, you've got this year and next year, and that's it. So for me, I think this refresh looks like they've definitely taken that feedback on board. And I mean, you know, I do need to stop using paper. You know, I've got to think about the climate now.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, to be fair, neither option are great. It's either paper or it's electricity, isn't it? So
True.
You know,
True. But yeah, because as you say, if it's a refined principle of squad planning, it's so useful, you know, because it means that you can go, well, actually, it helps. We've discussed before in previous shows about having faith in young players, and I definitely get lured in by the stars way too much, and that whole trusting a player who might be 2 stars at the moment but they're 17, so just keep playing them, look at their attributes and just go, you don't need to buy someone, because you just give them minutes, they're going to fly. And if the squad plan is in a more refined sense, is a way of helping you realize that, and I think in a way it helps additionally too, because then you're like, well, actually I should fund the facilities, look at the best coaches, etc., because it's just for clubs where you're not got a big budget, it's just a way to massive marginal gains to outcompete. Can you have massive marginal gains? Probably not. But like, yeah.
And I guess as well, with the way that we're being advertised, Arron, the smarter AI, where they're looking, where the AI will understand that a young good potential player is going to start getting minutes. For me, the squad planner, in that sense, you should be able to have things like cup teams, like, you know, what's your cup squad? So you might be putting your younger players in there, going, right, that's their pathway. They go in, they get their minutes there, and you can break it all down like that. Maybe we're sort of thinking 3 or 4 games ahead, and that's where it's going to end up being. But you know, to see improvements year on year, that is very, very, very good indeed. And obviously that then ties with the national squad planner.
Yeah, but it's that sort of thing, in it, because I was a pen and paper person as well. And it's like when the squad planner came out, it was like, but there's nothing there. That's like, I'm getting nothing extra from the squad planner in FM than I am getting from pen and paper. And pen and paper to me was just so trusted sort of thing as well. But they have added new things, which maybe like now, maybe this actually will be more useful than pen and paper. So for a start, there was new icons on the pitch, which signal whether your attention is required, linked to squad depth, and a separate tab that will show warnings based on squad ability to really help you work out where both your strengths and weakness lie now and in future seasons. Of course, you can't, it's hard to get that from a piece of paper and a pen, but that wasn't also there in Squad Planner before. But these are now little added things that's going to be like, well, I probably should use the Squad Planner. But there's also now a position analyst that will appear at the bottom of your screen and will display 3 pieces of information, which is positional depth, player ability, and shortlisted players or youth players. Again, it's just better things there. That's now I'm going to be like, what's in the squad planner now? And I'm going to be more open to using the squad planner over pen and paper, because there's now things that I will be able to get from the squad planner that I can't do literally in minutes when writing and I'm live or whatever I'm doing when playing Football Manager.
And that's the thing, because all the information is already there, and it is now just a case of how is it presented. And again, as we'll always say, if you don't understand it, delegate. Someone else will do that for you in game. Like there is a lot of stuff obviously on the new feature lists that you know, some people might look and go, oh my god, that's getting a little bit too in depth for me right now. But remember, there's always hints and tips within the game. There's always someone else who will take charge of that for you. Arron, very briefly, there's a little thing that I spoke to Stinger about in the last episode, which I know that you're going to be very excited about. Set pieces are here. We've got new coaches. We've got new set piece routines.
I'm so happy, because I remember for like the whole year I've been saying set piece coaches. They're in real life. Yeah, I'm just so happy about that. I can't wait, because there was a little clip as well in the in their trailer where they done the short taking that routine there. Just looked, oh wow, it looked amazing. But it is one of those things now when you're watching football, teams are very, very savvy with their set piece routines. I remember watching Brighton and Liverpool yesterday, and João Pedro was coming short for a corner. Liverpool read it. So then he's walking off like, oh, they've read it. Then suddenly he just turns back again. And then it's just like completely undone the Liverpool defense. And it's just those little small things as well that really, really do help you gain the advantage.
I think as well, again, IRL, and again, to break my own rule in terms of referencing an Arsenal example, the goal against Everton, Trossard's goal this season, which was, again, like they tried the whole kind of short corner thing, sucking the Everton defence to them about 12 times before the actual goal went in. And it was proper like pinball to get it around too. It's almost like certain other sports, like the NFL, for example, where it's so set piece orientated every single action. So
I guess you can now...
Yeah. It's actually massive, isn't it? In terms of the number of different things that you can now do.
That's where I thought it would be going. Like, I didn't think that we would get a full creator. I thought we'd get something like an NFL-style playbook of you can select these set pieces, and the better your coaches are, the more varied they would become. And that would make sense. That would be what I believe is, quote-unquote, an easy way.
I actually messaged someone from Football Manager as well, because I remember after the releases, I was like, after they released the features, I was like, you lot have actually killed it this year, because I was not expecting some of these things at all for FM24. At all.
And you know what? That's a great point, because obviously there was the announcement of FM24 and FM25 at once. And everyone was like, right, okay, FM25 is going on Unity. This is the one to wait for. Like, and it's a tricky marketing strategy to announce two games. But my word, they have ramped the hype up for FM24, and then just as we're sort of going, oh, this sounds great, they've shown us what it looks like with new match animations, new lighting, and it looks smoother, and the balls are being volleyed into the ground, and players are moving around positional, and you know what? It's only a month away. It's only a month away.
And that's just, man. Well, it's the whole year, again, ever since they announced FM25, and people were like, I'm not going to buy FM25, I'm just going to give it. I always told people, look, for them to announce FM25, I'm sorry, but they've got to be confident that FM24 is going to be a very good game. It just has to be, in my honest opinion. But again, I thought like quality of life. That's what I genuinely thought. Quality of life, things are going to be slightly different, and it's kind of a lead up to FM25 sort of thing. But I actually feel the FM24 alone just sounds like a brilliant game. And almost just forgot about FM25. Like, I thought the match engine stuff completely just out of my head now. It's like FM24, I need to get this game, because I'm seeing all this inverted fullback coming in, and a libero centre back is pushing forward. I'm like, I need to get this game. I don't know, forget this new match engine. It's all about this game right now for me, and I'm very excited.
Absolutely. And the best thing is, though, is that we're going to be here covering it all as it goes from now until launch, until FM25. Remember to make sure you follow the FM Show Pod on all of your podcast platforms. Follow us on social media, of course, the same, the FM Show Pod, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Come and join the Discord, of course. Come and tell us all about your saves, what you're planning to do, your pride, your worries, your questions. Bring all that in there. And of course, if that's not enough and you want even more content again, then you can come and support us via Patreon. If you don't know what Patreon is a way of supporting the podcast if you can afford it. We have exclusive content over there. We have extra episodes. We've got a private Discord channel. You get early access to the weekly episodes, both audio and video as well. You can sign up and be part of the FM Show squad for as little as £3 a month. In order to do that, you visit patreon.com/the FM Show Pod and become a member, just like James O'Brien did this week. So he's joined the squad. Thank you very much to everyone who has signed up on Patreon. Your support, of course, means the world to us now. This has been brilliant having a bit of a chat here, but we have a chat lined up. We're also going to have a quick little conversation with Omega Luke as a guest on this week's show. He is a content creator who's been tearing it up over on YouTube, making reputation rebuilds. He's now got 95,000 subscribers on YouTube. So let's have a little listen to what he's got to say, shall we? Just a quick one, just while this episode's on. I hope you're enjoying it, by the way. And if you are enjoying it, please consider hitting that like button. That'd be much appreciated. It shows us who's enjoying the episodes. And also, while you're there, why not consider hitting the subscribe button as well? You'll find out exactly when all the new episodes drop, so you'll never miss a beat. That, of course, pushes us up through the YouTube algorithm. It gets us in front of more eyes. And, of course, the more the podcast grows, the better it's going to be. There's also a little space for a comment, so leave us a comment. We love reading them, and we will, of course, get back to you as well. And speaking about getting back, let's get back to the episode. Joining me right now, I have got rebuild sensation, Omega Luke. Luke, how are you, pal? You well?
I'm brilliant, mate. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. I say rebuild sensation. I should point out, before we get started, one half of the rebuild sensation.
Yeah, that's true. To be fair, the smaller half, by the sounds of the comment section too.
I was going to say, yeah, the community has fallen in love with Omega Dad, haven't they?
They well and truly have. It's kind of like the whole channel's against me when we do a versus one, but that's fine.
So let's break it down then. So for people who maybe don't know who you are, what you are, why you're with us this afternoon, let's talk about it then. So Omega Luke, content creator, what's your angle?
So yeah, I've been doing it full time now for about 2 years. So coming up to 2 years roughly as we're recording this, to be fair. And we kind of like struck gold with the rebuild format a few months before that happened. And it was basically, I used to watch a lot of like other YouTubers in different niches playing different games, NBA, NFL, the FIFA guys who do like rebuilds on there. And I noticed like obviously nobody was really doing that type of format on Football Manager. So I thought I was trying to think of a way of doing it within that format. But I found it quite weird, like just recapping it myself when I had like first done it. And I felt like I needed somebody to kind of like show the results to, which I felt would be easier to bounce off of. And the first person that came to my mind was my dad, because he's quite like, when I talk football with him, I know how like knowledgeable he is about stuff, and I enjoy the conversations I have with him. But my first rebuild I wanted to do was Spurs, because at the time, Harry Kane had said he was leaving. This was 2 years ago, and he had announced that he was leaving. Of course, as we know, he stayed another 2 years. So it was kind of like a perfect scenario, because my dad is a Spurs fan and he had a lot of opinions about Harry Kane and Spurs, so it just made sense. And so yeah, I roped him into a video, which he never thought he'd ever do. He'd never been on camera or anything like that, and quite awkward to begin with. But he seemed to enjoy it. But the big thing was everybody seemed to enjoy him on it. And the comments straight away was, you need to bring him back. You do more of these with different clubs. And he was kind of like, well, yeah, but I don't support any of these clubs. What do I bring to the table? And that's when it kind of like evolved from there to what it is now, really. And he, well and truly, he brings stuff to the table, which I feel like if I did it by myself now, it would never be the same, and I never would have grown as much as what I possibly did. I think he's definitely the reason why I'm full time, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's amazing to sort of see the dynamic there, because as I'm sure people who are listening or watching tend to see on YouTube or TikTok or Twitch or whatever, it's normally one person, and it's one person doing a save, and it's one person talking about their solo Football Manager career, because Football Manager is a solo player game. Whereas you've managed to get your dad involved and go, hey, come on, what do you reckon about this? And of course, it just adds a different dynamic, which works really, really nicely, to be honest. And especially with this rebuild format, because again, if we try and sort of explain it to people who may be unfamiliar with the concept of a rebuild, the rebuild really, I suppose, in its finite form is, you've mentioned there, Harry Kane was leaving Tottenham. What would you do in the event of that? How would you spend that money? I suppose, is that probably the easiest way of looking at it? Or do you go deeper with, hey, this club struggled for 20 years. Can we get them back up?
Yeah, it's a bit of both, really. I think, like, I had a lot of comments once, like, oh, you never rebuild actually clubs who need a rebuild. And it's like, I do both, because to me, the rebuild now is just what I call it. The format is, we usually do 5 years, because I feel like that's the perfect time for the length of video that we do and how long it takes me to actually do it. But for anybody who's a bit unsure, it is we do the transfer window, and then when the transfer window closes, we've obviously created our tactic. We then holiday to the end of the season, whether we keep players in the positions we need to or whatever. And then when it gets to the end of the season, you recap how your team did that season. And we do that 5 seasons in a row. I called it a rebuild because that's what everybody in the other niches in different games called it, and it just seemed to be like that was popular as like a key word, I guess. But I never wanted it to be just teams that needed a rebuild, because then that puts you down a rabbit hole. Like the first few rebuilds I did was Harry Kane leaving Spurs and Jack Grealish leaving Aston Villa. So that was 2 straight away that I found was the easiest format to do. But then it was just evolved into anything. If teams are struggling in real life, what would I do? But then it's even like teams where they're not even that struggling. It's just what I would do in 5 years with that team. And it just gives you, I only usually do 1 a week. So it's 52 options across a year. If I can't find 52 clubs to do, there's never going to be 52 of these, like, unsung or used to be giant clubs, fallen giants. I'm never going to be able to find 52 of them and keep it fresh, because it will turn out to be very similar else. So doing different clubs and who might be at different pathways in their actual real life journey, and just saying, okay, from now on, it's my 5 years, what I would do in 5 years. It's just the format itself is called a rebuild, really.
And I quite like as well. I quite like the fact that you're capping it at 5 years, because before, like, I guess when I first got into sort of watching content and being part of the content scene, like, I saw the term rebuild, and again, as you did with other games, I saw the term rebuild, and I thought, looking at it, going, all right, so you take this club, we'll say, for example, Oldham Athletic, who've obviously fallen from the Premier League. They're the first ever Premier League side to play non-league football. So for me, in my head, I was like, right, a rebuild is take Oldham back to the Premier League. And I initially thought, that's a 1 club save, and I've got to play that physically, manually, and spend all my time doing that. And oh my God, what happens if I get sacked? When I get sacked. And then watching these other ways of doing stuff now, these shorter videos, like the sort of content that you're making there, you mentioned it about holidaying through. I'd never considered anything like that. So is that, I'm thinking for our listeners and viewers, is that like a really interesting way of maybe trying a tactic, or maybe sort of like having a little short-term save when we're in this window between game cycles, like FM23 is finishing, FM24 is about to start, and it's like, I don't want to commit to anything massive, but hey, if I've got 5 years, I could do an actual rebuild and physically play it.
Yeah, absolutely. To give you a bit of an understanding, because I get quite a lot of comments when I do like a lower league one, or one where I got to the cusp of Europe, but then the 5 years has ended. They go, oh, please do part 2. Why don't you do 10 years? The reason why I don't do it is 2 reasons, mainly. Is 1, else the format will have to be quite fluid and change. So the format is the 5 years. How far can I take them in 5 years? But 2, we then give the save to my Patreon members who like to do the 5 years as well. But 3, I've got to get one out for every Monday, because that's the norm now. It's got to the point where people rely on me to have a Monday video and it to be a rebuild. So if I do longer, it takes me roughly about 12 hours to do the 5 seasons in a simulation, because I basically play, I have like an instant result thing, or I play during the transfer window while that's open in the summer window anyway. And then I holiday through, and obviously depending on how good your PC is, etc., how long it takes to holiday or how big your save file is, takes that the time it takes. So it takes me roughly about 12 hours. If I was to add another 5 years onto that, that takes me 24 hours. I'm not going to be able to get one out every single Monday. So that's one of the main reasons why, because else people will be relying on a Monday upload and wouldn't have it there. And again, the videos itself, like sometimes they're over an hour. So, having too long of a video might be a bit detrimental as well. But it's definitely a way for people now who are looking at like, I've got nothing to play until FM24 comes out. It's a really easy way of just going, I always wanted to manage that club, because I think the best thing I found about it is I'm never bored with a save now, because I used to, when I was like growing up and playing Football Manager before I used to do content, I wouldn't get bored of a save, because my favorite parts of the save is buying players and developing youngsters. That's what I like doing the most in my preference in playing Football Manager. But I'd find like if I was playing every single week, I'm very impatient as a person, and I'd be like, I want to get to 5 years in the future now so that I can see what this guy's like, or etc. So it's a way that kind of keeps me interested in the game, because I'm managing so many different clubs every single like game that comes out. And I'm never bored of a save. Then there's been a couple which has failed, etc. There's been a couple of times where I've actually been sacked and I've like left it in the video, because I think that's important. People just think, oh, they're easy because they see me complete them, and the amount of messages I get like, how do you do the rebuilds, because I'm getting sacked first season every single time. It happens like as soon at the start of every new game cycle, before I've worked out the kind of tactics that I like to use that works, I get sacked a few times. Happens. I even get sacked during the game cycle. So it can happen, but it's a good way, once you understand how you want to run teams with tactics, etc., to kind of run a save. It's an easy way of going, I've always wanted to manage that club, but I don't think I have enough time to do a rebuild. That type of that style of video, anyway.
Yeah, definitely, and I think that sort of makes a lot of sense. Like one thing that I'm curious of, and again, because I'm obviously trying for me to understand playing it the way that you play it. How do you do the transfer window then? Because you're saying there, obviously, you start the game, you start the save up normally, and then your first thing you do is you do the summer transfer window. Okay, that makes sense, because that's like treating it like a normal game, I guess. If you're then holidaying through a season, maybe are you bypassing January? Are you going into the next
straight
window?
over into June
then,
usually? Yeah.
So when you're in the next June, how are you buying players? And this is maybe a really easy question to answer, I suppose, really. But how are you buying players? Because when I'm playing it, I'm obviously spotting players that have performed well against me. I'm spotting all the flaws within how my team are playing. And I'm looking, going, right, okay, you know what? I do concede a lot of position down the left side or whatever. And I go, right, so I'm focusing my recruitment on a left-sided player. Whereas if you're holidaying through on these videos, do you get that insight? Or do you just like straight in the data hub, or just going, well, we'll see who's doing well and taking an average rating sort of thing?
I think it comes with a lot of experience. Like, my dad always says it, like, my knowledge of players is exceptional every single game cycle, and that's the reason why, like, I can watch a game of football in a different country and I'll be like, I remember when he was a good wonder kid in this year, or I remember he was a good player in this year. And like now that I've got to the point where me and my dad actually play these games together, when I'm looking for a player, I'll find them in like 4 times quicker than what my dad will, because I've already got names in my head who I can go to, because my memory's awful. But one thing I'm always very good at is names of football players on Football Manager. It's just one of those things, I guess. But that comes with it. So it's like, I know what my weaknesses in the team, for example, or for example, like, you know, if you see a striker and you think, oh, he's going to be good, and then he doesn't start scoring, it's like, okay, I know I need to change that. I guess it's just one of those things where it's like, I'm used to it. But a lot in this version of in this cycle of the game, I've used a lot of what the scouts recommend way more than I ever have in any other year. I don't know what it is about FM23, but I found that my scouts were finding me a lot of players that I was going to use. Whereas in like the games before it would just be searching for myself or just people that I knew already. I think the hardest thing is not using the same players over and over again. And that's something that, like, I don't struggle with, but it's something I'm always very aware of. Like, the amount of times I could have signed like a Rooney Baji in season 4 or 5 because I know he's probably the best right winger that I can pick up for like 10 million or whatever he is at Copenhagen. I think I've only bought him like twice, and my dad's only got him like once. And it's simply because I'm like, I don't want to overuse that player. So I have to have a big knowledge, because else every rebuild will be the same. And the whole point of doing all these different clubs and different leagues is so that every video feels different to the person watching, and every story that I'm trying to portray in the video, because at the end of the day, this is my full-time job now. As much as I want to be good at the game, it's got to have a story. Yeah. And that's the thing that I found the most in the last sort of year or so of content creation. If it doesn't have a story, it's going to be boring. So I'm finding ways of like creating a story by going, okay, I'm not going to sign this ultra overpowered player that I know I can get. I'm going to try this guy who I've never signed before and make a story out of it and mention it in the video, etc. And that's what I'm finding. That's also brought more enjoyment for me doing it as well, because it's a little bit different again. But yeah, I mean, the amount of times that people will like message me, especially if they get the same game file after, if I buy like a new gen, and I usually say like I've bought a new gen for the Patreon members, etc. And I say, let me know how they do. Like I had one last night, some guy, I bought a new gen in one of the most recent versus videos I think we did for the rebuilds, and somebody messaged me like this random new gen name, which I don't remember because it was like 6 weeks ago that I recorded. Like, just to let you know, I sold him to Manchester United for over 100 million. I'm like, oh, that's amazing. And I was like, what one was that? What save was that? Because it was so long ago. But yeah, that's quite an exciting thing.
And I guess, I mean, you touch upon that there, like Football Manager it's all stories, it's all narrative, it's like the ultimate RPG, I suppose, in a sense, isn't it? Really, like, and you're right there, that the narrative arc of picking a player that no one knows, and you make them the underdog, and they become the star player, and that's what it's all about, I suppose, isn't it? Really, rather than as you say, just a team full of wonder kids that everyone knows after about 3 weeks, and you go, oh yeah, we could sign these guys, and you're like, well, yeah, of course you could, like, so I suppose that's interesting, and I like that, to be honest. I like that. Where I'm at now, though, I'm thinking obviously new games on the horizon. Are there any teams that you've seen and you think, right, they are ripe for the rebuild treatment next year, either in the way that you do it or in the way that our audience would be like, oh, who do I want to do as a save? And like maybe the idea of a rebuild of like a fallen giant or whatever is really appealing. Like who in real life football is ready for that bit of a scrub and a glow up?
Absolutely, because whenever I see, like, my dad's quite good for it as well, because he does a lot of like looking into different nations and stuff like that, of clubs, of what's happening and stories and stuff. He's constantly sending me like news articles of different teams, so we've got like a list that we both add to, and at the minute, like, top of my list, obviously I only did them on Monday, so I can't really say I'll probably do it too soon, but Lyon, like the stuff that's going on at Lyon, if you want to do more of a bigger club still in the top division, which should be doing a lot better, because then you've also got the added challenge of the clubs that are doing really well in Monaco and obviously clubs that are always do quite well in Marseille, but then you've also got the giant of PSG and how to overcome them. So that's quite a good one that's still top division, but that's going to be an incredible challenge, because, you know, the stuff that's going on in Olympique Lyon looks quite bad. Malaga's another one. I've only done them recently, but they've just been relegated again. And they had like a really good wonder kid on this year's version, Roberto Fernandez. So I'm wondering whether he's still like good on next year's, because if he is, he can carry you up the first league. And then you've obviously just got to build on that to get promoted again before you go into La Liga again. So that's always one that I've kept my eye on definitely this year. But I mean, like I say, you can do it with any team really, but to have like a story, there's so many different ones where I think that's prime for a rebuild, etc. You know, you see there's so many in the championship that championships teams are the most that I get requested all the time.
It's just the best league in the world, and like every single club has a backstory, and that's like if you're looking for a team to manage, and you're like, oh, I wish I had a team that was good 20 years ago. The Championship, that is the division of teams that were good 20 years ago.
Premier League clubs and stuff like that. It's honestly, I think. Every single rebuild I do, I get the likes of Sheffield Wednesday, Middlesbrough, and Reading, etc. I know Reading's gone down again.
Former Premier League champions, Blackburn.
There's so many in the Championship that you can pick and go, okay, I'm going to rebuild, etc. But annoyingly, Championship's like the league I hate managing in the most in Football Manager. It's weird, but I just have the worst time in the Championship ever, because I see everybody else who manages in the Championship and they're getting loans and flying up the leagues, and I try and get these loans, and Football Manager tries to rip me off and say, you know, your monthly fees are up 500k for this wonder kid that we've got. I'm like, what? I'm not seeing that in anybody else's game. What's going on here? So yeah, I have the worst luck in the Championship, I think, but that's the one I get requested the most.
That's the best league. That's why. It's where all the fun happens. Is there any clubs that you've sort of like now got an attachment to off the back of these rebuilds? And I know you don't play them as intently as maybe someone who treats it as a one club save. But is there any clubs that even after the 5 years you have been tempted to go, I think that's my save, actually. I should really have played that, or I might have a little play now 5 years in.
Yeah, there's been a few, to be fair. I mean, Hajduk Split was one. I really enjoyed that one because it was. I don't often go to other smaller nations because the views drop quite drastically. Because the small minority claim, they always put in the comments, we want to see smaller leagues, smaller leagues. You do the smaller leagues, and it's like half the views of what you do from the big leagues. So because it is my full-time job, I do predominantly do bigger clubs or bigger leagues, but I do enjoy going to like the Eastern European leagues, etc., and doing that. Hajduk Split was a really fun one for me that I thoroughly enjoyed. We tend to go a lot, and it's every single year. I tend to go to them twice a year. It's Chelsea and Everton. And Everton, for me, is I've got like a bit of affiliation, not in real life, but on Football Manager. And then they go and sign my favourite striker in FM23, Beto. And it's like, oh, this is like destined. So yeah, we did a rebuild with Beto and Everton last week, I think it was. But yeah, I seem to go to them at least twice a year because they always seem to be in trouble and they get requested quite a lot. But I do enjoy that.
Yeah, I was going to say the Sunderland bat signal tends to follow me around as well.
Yeah.
But if anything, it's the other way. Don't come here. Go somewhere else. Yeah. You are not welcome back here.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I guess one thing as well that we'll think about with regards to FM24 coming up then. So out of the feature list that we've seen so far, the one that I think is maybe going to affect you the most is this smarter AI transfers.
Yes.
Now, do you think, again, without any of us seeing this at the minute, how much of an impact is that potentially going to have on your end of season recruitment if you're not physically playing the game?
Yeah, quite big. So funny enough, me and my dad sat down and did a video yesterday looking at all of the features and how we think it's going to affect our content, whether it's the rebuilds or the new £100 million challenges where we do, which is just across one season. But it's basically a rebuild for one season, to be fair, but we just give ourselves a transfer budget. And we were discussing each different feature and how we think it's going to affect it. And the AI smarter transfers was one where it was it could be bad, but it also could be a lot better, because one of the things that he's found, because to put it in perspective, it used to just be me doing the rebuild, but I've got him to learn how to play the game now. So we do versus one. So we're doing, one day's one was Lyon versus Marseille, and we've done Real Madrid versus Barcelona, Benfica versus Porto. So we're taking over a club in the same universe and going against each other for 5 seasons, which has been a lot of fun, and loads of people just love those videos now, which is amazing because we really enjoy doing it. But the thing that he has struggled with the most is transfers, because he wants to sign everybody because it's new to him, but he can't offload people. And he goes, "What? How much is he worth? 40 million? I'll sell him." And I'm like, "You won't get 40 million for him, Dad. I'm telling you now, you won't get." "Why not? That's his value. I'm not. I'm going to reject anything unless it's his value." I'm like, "Dad, you will not get 40 million for him." And that's the thing he struggles with the most. And when we were looking at the AI smarter transfers, etc., one of the things that I question in the new features is where it says they will buy players on form and like rating or something like that, or reputation. That was it, form and reputation. I was there sat with Dad and I was thinking, that already happens. I cannot sell a player unless they're in form. Yeah. And that's the thing I struggle with the most. I want it to be selling a player that I don't use. And that's the thing we struggle with the most. We have players in our team, for instance, say they're 10 million. We can't get no more than 2 million from them. I'm like, what? This should not happen, because just because we don't play them or use them in our side, we should be able to sell them because somebody's going to want to use them. So I'm hoping with this smart AI that might be the case, that they recognize players that just because they didn't play that year are still good, because it feels like it's the opposite right now. It feels like unless they play a game, you cannot sell them. But the new features of the intermediaries and selling players that way, where you hire somebody to help you, that to me was okay, if this works how they're explaining it, this is going to be game changing for us, Dad, because that's going to help all of your problems, because I'm used to it now. I can get around it. I'm budgeting in my head. All right, I know I can't make that much money, but whereas he sees 40 million for my player, I should be getting at least 40 million for it.
He's a dad, isn't he? He's like, the car's worth this. I'm not selling it for less than that.
Exactly like that. Yeah.
I paid 40 grand for it 25 years ago. It's worth 35 grand now.
Yeah.
We'll give
no depreciation price whatsoever. But he used to play like Championship Manager years ago, and he's played. I think he has played a Football Manager, but it wouldn't have been within the last like 7 or 8 years. So to him, the game is completely new. It's completely different to him, and how like the AI acts and stuff like that. So he's learning stuff now, and he's picking it up. He is picking it up because he's getting better, especially with tactics as well. He's getting a lot better with tactics. Because at first I was like, you can't do that, and he was like, yeah, but. And he'd explain it in real life how a tactic works. I'll go, I know, but this is Football Manager, Dad. It doesn't work like that. So he's picking it up very quickly. But that's out of the features that we've seen. The AI smart transfers, we're unsure whether that's going to be detrimental to us and make it more challenging, or whether it's actually going to help us, because the AI might see our players that we don't use and go, oh, that's somebody we can pick up. But the intermediaries is something I'm looking at and going, that's going to help us big time.
Absolutely. And you know what? I think it's all getting very, very exciting, isn't it? And I can't really wait to see how it all plays out. Obviously, if people do want to see these rebuilds and the other challenges that you mentioned there, things like the £100 million over a season, Luke, where can people find yourself and, more importantly, your dad?
Yeah, so you can find my dad on my channel. On YouTube and Mega Luke, you'll find us there. We're slapped on the front of the thumbnails quite nicely. Shout out to Flute, who makes the thumbnails like unbelievable. So we're on there, and we're putting up stuff on TikTok as well, because people are enjoying Dad and his stories and stuff so much that he's even doing well on TikTok compared to what I do as well. So yeah, if you want to come over and say hi, that's the place to go.
Fantastic. And of course, all the links in the description below. Luke, absolute pleasure chatting to you. No doubt we'll speak to you during the FM24 game cycle, and we look forward to seeing a few more rebuilds in the future.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for having me on, mate. Really appreciate it.
Cheers, pal. It's been a pleasure. We've got a live show coming up on Monday, the 6th of November in Nottingham at the Canal House. It's part of the Nottingham Comedy Festival. If you're interested in coming to see the FM show live, seeing myself, seeing producer Steve, seeing RDF Tactics in person, then there's a ticket link in the description below. The tickets are priced at £5. Come and see the show. Come and hang out afterwards. We'll do a bit of a meet and greet. We'll do a bit of a chat. We'll talk FM. Bring your stories. Bring Matt Doherty if you can. But yeah, Monday the 6th of November, the Canal House in Nottingham, £5. Ticket link in the description below. Get your tickets. Come and hang out. It's going to be fantastic. So there we go then. Cracking chat with Omega Luke. Definitely giving us a few ideas for things to look forward to in the future. But more importantly, right in front of us right now, this is what we have to deal with. The mailbag, the correspondence. And Arron, we're going to start.
And we will start with Bill Rowley. Gents, really enjoying the podcast. Thank you. Only stumbled across it a few weeks ago after reigniting my love affair with Football Manager. Having not played the game since 2019-20, you guys were pivotal in taking Dorking into the championship within 4 seasons. I am definitely taking credit.
We did that.
Yes. Credit. I'm 100% taking credit. I'm a head coach in real life. Oh, nice. With Walton and Hersham FC, hopefully I've pronounced that perfectly, at step 3 of the English football pyramid with 3 promotions in 3 seasons. Congratulations. Sadly, I coach on Monday night, so I doubt I'll make the Nottingham live show. Still working on it. Oh, come on. I just wanted to say thank you for your work, and I've learned loads about the new game. If you guys were looking for something to watch on YouTube, bunch of amateurs have just done a 4-part documentary about our promotion last season entitled Walton Uncovered. Thank you again, gents. Bill Rowley.
Thank you, Gaffer. 3 promotions in 3 seasons, and we're taking credit for it. That's excellent.
When the actual head coach in real life is telling you, I'm giving you credit, we're like, oh, I don't care if it's a game or real life, I'm definitely taking that credit.
And also, Bill, that Monday, the live show, just schedule a rest day. Just schedule a rest day for your players. Just, it's probably the middle of the season. Need a bit of physical rest.
Team bonding. Put team bonding in. That's literally what it's all about, is team bonding. Bring everyone. Everyone needs to come to Nottingham on the 6th of November.
I've just figured out what they actually do on rest days. They come to visit us down at Nottingham. I'm sorry, listeners. I'm sorry.
There we go.
That's a callback to 6 weeks ago, by the way. Just thinking.
I'm still trying to work out what they do on rest days.
What are they resting from?
Yeah, do come to Nottingham on the 6th of November. It's going to be fantastic. Steve, following on from last week's request for poetry.
Yeah, so we just unintentionally, just naturally, in the flow of the conversation, ended up reciting some of the classic works of English poetic literature.
Improved as well, might I add.
Completely naturally improvised on the day of National Poetry Day. Wordsworth was in there, Kipling, all of that stuff. Lorenzo Luca. Anyway, all the greats, at Target Forward and as 19th century poets. So following on last week, we thought that would be the end of it. Apparently not. The listeners have started to share theirs. Specifically, Oisin Hughes. Oisin writes, hello, Tony, producer Steve, and Arron. Hello, Oisin.
Hello.
Regular listener, second time corresponder, first time sonnet writer. I hope you're doing well as the podcast has been since its return. That's very kind. Thank you, Oisin. And I can't wait for the Pain of the Community challenge. More on that in the future. Because the League of Ireland itself, IRL, is coming to a close relatively soon. So Oisin is going to need something to fill their time. Oisin's club, Finn Harps, finished 9th in the second tier. So it's a real Tony Jameson kind of season there.
I've got my eyes on it. They sound like a great side.
Come to the Republic, Finn Harps.
I've been promoted from where have I been promoted from? Dorking. I did a great job there apparently in real life.
Yeah, so where are they? County Donegal. There we go. Finn Harps. Anyway, after finishing last week's pod, Oisin immediately began to construct a sonnet dedicated to Football Manager. And here is the final product. So is everybody ready? I genuinely said as a joke that this was like a slam poetry session podcast, but now we're just going to do a full poetry reading in the show. So here we go. Everyone ready?
Let's go.
So ready.
In Football Manager's world, we yearn to find wonder kids with potential, one of a kind. In youth prospects, our dreams take flight as we guide them towards the brightest light. With patience, we'll unearth the hidden gems, nurturing their talents as the game condemns. For in their growth, our hearts skip a beat, a future dynasty, an incredible feat. But let us pledge with honour and pride to play the game true, with nothing to hide. No save-scumming shortcuts to glory's embrace. In Football Manager's realm, we'll earn our place. Through every setback and triumphant display, our love for the game will light our way. In Football Manager's embrace, we'll soar. Together we'll win, forever wanting more. There we go. An ode to Football Manager.
I think that's brilliant.
Now, thing is though, one of the lines in this, no skipping corners, no scum saving. You know, the idea being earning our place, doing it your own way. From Oisin Hughes. Yeah. Lovely work, Oisin. We thank you for it. However, with a lot of help from ChatGPT.
Sacrilege.
I was literally flowing with that poem. It was going so well. And I opened my eyes, I looked at it, and I saw the last sentence, and I just went. Oh man, he sucked me in.
Remember when we did the 10 Commandments? Thou shalt not download poetry and pass it off as thy own.
Well, we haven't done the commandments yet, have we? So next episode, we will. Now Aaron's back, we will actually do them. Ad infinitum.
It's actually more difficult to come up with a list than you actually realise as well.
However, 100% one of them is do not use artificial intelligence playing Football Manager or writing Football Manager poems.
Like I appreciate the effort that you've gone to do it, and because you know what, like we put it out there. Oh, send us poetry, and fair play, Oisin, you did. But we probably should have specified: send us your own poetry. Don't just send us.
But what I would say as well is actually,
what
to be fair to Oisin, he's actually fessed up,
Yeah.
confessed, you might say, already, said that it wasn't just them.
I still think we read it out again at the live.
Yeah, because I was actually thinking that it was actually a great little bit
good.
as well.
Live poetry reading.
Yes.
Yeah.
Finally.
Yeah, we can have a live slam poetry moment.
100%.
Great. Well, anyway, thanks, Oisin.
Absolutely. And if you want to send us some poetry, some commandments, some correspondence, some save ideas, some tactics, garages, Arron, possibly, you need to get in touch with us. You need to send us your emails via the FM Show Pod. That is the FM Show Pod at gmail.com. Of course, if you're sending us tactics for Tactics Garages, send us a screenshot. Let us know what is wrong with it, and we will help to try and diagnose that. And of course, if you've got a short query, hit us up on social media, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. It's the FM Show Pod. And of course, come and join the Discord as well. We look forward to chatting to you all very soon. And that was episode 12 of the FM Show, hosted by myself, Tony Jameson. Our co-host was the returning Arron Falloon, aka RDF Tactics. Our guest was Omega Luke. And our producer was producer Steve Hankey. And of course, take care of yourselves. See you soon. Stay safe. Bye now.